Hello to all you lovely listeners out there in La La Land. That was Funky Beaumont's 1976 classic, Love You Forever, and you're back with Super Despair World with yours truly, DJ Farstrider, and my lovely co-host, DJ Absentia. It is 11:57 on the dot, which means we have another 4 hours of uninterrupted lo-fi slow jams brought to you by our incredibly generous listeners on the Patreon. A special thanks to Braid Zero, Dimbus, Weasel, FNL, Knackles, Nick, Nilly, Heresy, Protagon, Clam, Shalom Guy, Trash Bins, Trevor Stilson, Walker, and Woke Baby for their continued love and support. We appreciate all of you for sponsoring the show. And now I'm going to kick it over to DJ Absentia to let you all know how to subscribe if you want to join this cast of sexy patrons who keep the record spinning and the hot takes flowing. Briar, tell them how they can support the show.
That's right, Dave. If you guys love the sound of those names we just read off and you want to hear us read your own name out loud, check us out on patreon.com/ the URL is down below. I don't know it offhand. Consider giving us a sinister $6, and you'll get a host of benefits, including we'll read your name off on the show. You'll get bonus episodes where it's a little looser, it's a little more raw, it's a little uncut. We go hater mode. We talk about random bullshit. We get personal with it on Extra Despair World. Check that out. Patrons only. Give us a sinister $6 for that. But not only that, if you want to join our lovely community, check us out on Discord. We have a Discord server. It's very cool, not paywalled. It's free to get in for now. Join while it's free. You'll be an OG. We love to see you there. We have a great time. It's gonna be good.
Yeah. Get your ass in there. I'm having a great time in there. I'm sure you are too, right, Brian?
I just threatened to make one of our members go missing, so I'm also having a great time. We have a recording channel with a limit of 2 people, and somebody hopped in before you did just now, and I had to make an example.
Oh.
Guys, yeah. It's a great community. Just follow the rules, follow the dress code, and you'll be welcome. You'll be welcome in there.
I think there is a way to make it so only we can be in the recording channel, but
almost certainly. But I think it's funnier this way.
Yeah,
I don't want to see.
Yeah.
I think we talked about this on a Patreon episode. I was talking about this gong we had in my middle school band class, and it was basically just there to see who would be tempted to hit it. That's how I feel about our recording channel on the Discord. I want to see who's going to cross that line.
Yeah, it's a gong. You get put on a watch list, like, immediately, just so you know.
They're never going to find the body. I'm going to plant some, like, endangered flowers over top of that, so...
Yeah, exactly.
I probably shouldn't say this just after the Patreon plug, but we love you guys. Just don't test us.
Yeah. For sure. All right. So what the fuck are we talking about today? What are we doing? I just woke up.
Today we're doing a little blast from the past. We're getting a bit musical with it. I was going to kind of let you take the reins on this episode because you're a bit more knowledgeable on music than I am. But this kind of falls into a series we're starting up on talking about internet aesthetics. Less of a broad subculture, but more of just a vibe, just a kind of thing that people are into. We're talking about vaporwave and lo-fi music. Chill lo-fi beats to study to. Look at this cute anime girl reading her podcast aloud. Chill out to the sounds of some ironic bullshit on the internet.
Yeah, it would be cool if we had our own if we had our own lo-fi mascot to listen to podcasts to on for our for our podcast. Like it would be cool. Just
I still occasionally get nightmares about like having a late assignment or whatever in school, so I think I could probably just draw myself studying. I think that's not too out of character. I'm not too far removed from school to do that.
Yeah, that's what I had in mind. But we also like the new art every week, so I don't know, maybe for the Patreon episodes, if we ever release those to the general public.
That would be pretty good.
Yeah.
I was gonna add this about my school related nightmares. It always feels like such a mess because I feel like whenever I get those nightmares, it's like I am somewhat self-aware about the real world, but kind of not. Where like in my dream, I'll be aware that I'm like 30 fucking years old, but I'll still think I'm in college, and I'll be like, oh god, I'm like 5 years late on this assignment. I'm so fucked. I'm 30 years old. I've been putting it off like half of my entire adult life.
See, I have recurring high school dreams, and it usually falls into like two broad categories. One of the big ones is like, it's the end of the year and I'm about to graduate, but I just realized I haven't been to like math class like all year, and I don't even know where it is. And I'm like, oh shit, like fuck, I need to like go to this class so that I can like pass.
It's going to be like a cartoonish scenario where you're like walking up on the stage to get your diploma or whatever, and they're about to hand it to you, and it'd be like, and now this goes to Dave, except he didn't finish his math class. Get the fuck out of here, Dave.
That would be the logical conclusion. It's not even that dramatic, though. It's usually just like annoying, and or like, I don't know where my locker is or what the combination is to it, and I have to like go to the office, and I'm like, oh yeah, also like, what's my class schedule? Because I know it's the end of the year, but like I don't know where any of my classes are, and I don't know where anything is in this building.
I was so bad about that in high school. I'm such a forgetful like ADHD motherfucker that like I would get my locker at the start of the year, and I would just like forget the locker number and also my combination, so I just like made by with like not using it for most of the year.
See, I don't think I ever knew my locker number or the combination after like the first week of school. It would just kind of be like location based, and then the lock would just be like feel. It would just be like muscle memory. Like I didn't even know what numbers I was turning to. It would just be like this much, spin it back this much, and then spin it forward this much, and then it would unlock.
That's kind of the mental process I go through when I type up our show notes every week. But yeah. Hey, speaking of dreamlike scenarios, maybe we should start off with a little bit about the history of these. It's kind of both a music genre and an aesthetic, but I think we should start off by talking about it as a music genre, because I think that came first, right?
Yeah. So we can talk about vaporwave first, and vaporwave is, if you're not familiar with it, it's a very aesthetics based musical genre which doesn't really have any compositional background to it. The people who are responsible for vaporwave, they don't actually make the music for the most part. And this is not like a knock on them necessarily or anything like that. It's basically you take a piece of music, which you deem acceptable for this genre of vaporwave, and you basically you pitch it down a bit until it kind of gets to this like really kind of wavy, slow like aesthetic to it, and a lot of times this is accompanied by kind of like nostalgic aesthetic imagery. It's a lot of like Windows 98, Windows 95, like old school. It's kind of like
the early stuff of like the digital age.
Yeah,
not as much like analog, but a lot like old PCs, old software, early internet, that kind of
deal. For sure. Early internet, like 90s kind of 3D modeling stuff when things were kind of like low res, a little bit clunky, a little bit janky, a little bit jagged with it, and And this was a thing that was around for a while, and like we're not gonna get into like, this is not like a music history, or we're not gonna like analyze this music too much. We kind of want to look at this from a broader perspective, but yeah, I mean, one of the big things that contributed to this was there was a tape that was discovered by somebody. It might have been a Redditor, actually. God bless you, Reddit. And it was...
We did it, Reddit.
We did it. We did it, Reddit. We found a cassette tape that was used by Kmart, which, if any of you remember Kmart, your congratulations, you're old, motherfucker. But
shout out to my hometown. We had a Zellers. Shout out to all the Canadians in the audience who know what a Zellers is, which was in town for like most of my childhood, and then it shut down for a few years, and then it was like a Kmart for like 1 year, and then it closed again because I guess nobody wanted to go to Kmart.
Okay, so you did have Kmart in
I think I went there like once.
Yeah,
it was very mid. It was like the definition of mid.
It's like a shitty department store. Like, that's really all I could. I mean, like, no wonder it failed. It really just kind of was like the worst of all worlds.
When I think back on it, I have to try and work out, like, was it really that bad, or is it just like, oh, I'm not a kid anymore, so I can't get excited about going to like the toy aisle or whatever?
Yeah. I mean, like, looking back, I think it was just kind of like they didn't do any of the things very well. It was like not as big as Walmart. It wasn't as focused as a place like Toys R Us or even JCPenney or something like that. And it was just kind of like... There was
also Target tried to expand up here to Canada for a while, and that did not go well because it was like, oh, it's just like Walmart, except they have less stuff and everything is like way too expensive.
Yeah, I think people like Target here because it makes them not feel like not feel as trashy as when you go to Walmart. It's like it's basically Walmart, but it's for people who like think they're bougie. That's it.
Every time I pass by a Target or something, well, every time I used to, because we don't really have them in Canada anymore, but I would see those like big red bollards they would put out in the front, and I would just like fantasize about like driving a car as fast as possible.
Oh, absolutely.
One of those.
Absolutely. But yeah, all right. So the Kmart thing was like they somebody found a tape or whatever. They were in possession of a tape that was basically like music that was played at Kmart, and it was just a tape that I guess was on like loop when you went into a Kmart, and it was just kind of like... It was kind of like inoffensive, just kind of like I kind of hate the term elevator music because it's a pejorative for some genres of music that I actually think are good, but
it's kind of like stuff that they put on that you're like, you don't really listen to it actively. It's very like a passive background noise sort of deal.
It's just inoffensive, and that's why they picked it, and it's like. And the music isn't even necessarily bad or like creatively bankrupt. It's kind of, they just picked it because it's not gonna like get on anybody's nerves. So in that plays into a lot of the shit with both of the genres and the aesthetics that we're gonna talk about. But like that was a big part of the vaporwave thing, I think. That, and then there's an artist called, holy shit, I'm about to fuck their name, Macintosh 95.
That sounds about right.
Yeah, and that's when you see the thing with like the Roman bust. And like the pastel colors of the 90s, like that's who they're talking about.
Oh, I just looked up. You're wrong. It's Macintosh Plus.
Yeah, that's right.
And the album is Floral Shop.
Yeah,
spelled
right.
SHOPPE.
Yeah, that is it. Yeah, see, I'm getting my wires crossed here. Windows 95. Macintosh computer, but yeah, that's If you look that up, you'll if you've been on the internet for at least a few years, you'll get what I'm putting down. But
yeah, this is in my opinion the whole like vaporwave thing. I think it's a very good litmus test for like are you on the internet more than the average person? If so, you've probably run into this at some point.
Yes, exactly. You've come across it because like I like as much as I'm a music guy and I do delve into obscure shit sometimes, I'm not like constantly on the fringes and like all of the new shit. Like I'm not always on board like right when it drops. But yeah, this definitely came across my desk, so to speak. And it's not even like a music thing. I think just like a lot of people who are on the internet a little bit too much, that they know what this is, or they've at least had this come up in their YouTube recommendeds or whatever.
Being on the internet is kind of like gazing into the abyss. At some point, it's gonna look back into you, and you will just like learn things without like intending to. Like if something exists and it's like big enough in like the broader internet culture, you're gonna learn about it at some point or another. Like I know, not to get too crass with it immediately, but if I talk about like the My Little Pony fandom and jars, like a lot of people just like immediately have like a fight or flight response to that. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
We don't need to elaborate.
Yeah, exactly. But like,
it's kind of like how it's maybe a better example. Like I've never seen a Star Wars movie in my life, but everybody knows like, oh yeah, Darth Vader. That's Luke's dad. You know?
Yeah.
So.
Right. So like, yeah, I mean, so what was your what's your take on this music? Like, what do you?
Yeah, so when you were describing it and how like a lot of the artists there don't even necessarily make an original thing. It's just kind of like a pitch shifted sort of deal. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you're familiar with this. This is kind of like an anime weeb bullshit sort of thing. You ever heard about nightcore music?
I feel like I do, but I'm not exactly sure.
It's basically like, I think it's a lot of like remixed like anime soundtracks and video game soundtracks and stuff like that. And nightcore music is basically just what did I write down here? Yeah, it's like they increase the pitch and the speed a little bit, and they'll probably like re-upload it with like an anime girl or some shit in the YouTube thumbnail.
Oh,
or something
right,
like
okay,
that.
yeah.
And and it was also kind of along the wave of this like you ever see this shit about like 8D music on YouTube? How it's like, oh, it's like in every direction or something like that. It's like ultra high definition.
Yeah,
and it was like mostly bullshit. Yeah, so there's a whole like a big culture around like remixing things or like curating stuff, and I don't know. I thought maybe we could have a conversation maybe a little bit later about just like what does it mean to like make art, and like what counts as making stuff versus like remixing things, or like giving things like a little bit of a new life, like a rediscovery, because a lot of this music probably would have just like kind of fallen into obscurity if not for all these people like
exactly
putting a new spin on it.
Exactly. And it's funny because I actually had a conversation with somebody about this earlier today, and it was just like, at what point does music become music? At what point does music become art? At what point is it intentional? At what point is it just like bullshit? Like, and it's all very subjective. I mean, like even defining music in and of itself, there's like a ton of discord among like academics and just like not.
Yeah, I know a lot of people have very strong opinions about like sampling in music. What is going too far with sampling versus like what's acceptable? Is this like a whole new thing? But like, I don't know. Like, personally speaking, I would love to live in a world where just like copyright is not a thing at all, and people could do whatever the fuck they want with whatever components. But we don't live in that world right now. But I still feel like, I don't know, most of the time I think you can tell when you see it, when something is done sort of in good faith with like a genuine desire to make something new, make something interesting, and not just like repackage someone else's shit to make like a quick buck on it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm a huge advocate of sampling. If you I don't think anybody who isn't completely deranged, I think even the YouTube music boomers who say that music these days is just scratching records and auto-tune, I don't even think they at this point are standing by this like sampling isn't music type of bullshit. But yeah, no, that was a good point that you brought up before, is like how much of this music would have gotten kind of forgotten if it didn't have a revival through some sort of different lens. And like one of the most seminal tracks of the vaporwave movement was the remix of Diana Ross's song "It's Your Move." And like yeah, not too much was much was done with that, but I mean, if look it up, you're gonna, if you've like ever seen like vaporwave chill mix or something, you've heard this song before. And it's kind of it's the same thing with city pop, and city pop has gotten a revival recently within maybe the past 5 years or so. In like the funny thing about city pop is like this music, when it was released, which I think was mostly in like the 80s and 90s, was kind of considered just like radio, whatever, disposable, like fucking just music to whatever. And now it's just like it's gotten this revival, and it's just like when you really listen and sit down to like to listen to some of these city pop songs, they fucking rock. Like they're really 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 good. And this would have, if this wasn't revived for some sort of like aesthetic revival of this, all of this shit would have gotten forgotten, and that would be a fucking shame.
Yeah, what's the really big city pop song everybody knows? Is it Plastic Love with like the happy Japanese girl and the cover?
Yes, Plastic Love by Maria Takeuchi. That is probably the poster girl of city pop, and that song fucking rules. And if you were
it's a banger.
Yeah. And if you're a musician, really sit down and like listen to the composition of that song. It's not a 2-chord Charlie. Like there's a lot going on there, and it's fucking good.
It's one of those things where like if you listen to any amount of music on YouTube, you will undoubtedly just like recognize the thumbnail like immediately.
Yeah.
I will say there's a lot to be said about like the problems with YouTube's algorithm. Like, it's kind of shitty that like you can watch like a bunch of gaming videos and now like learn all about how the West has fallen and we need to do something about women. But I'll say, like, when it comes to music, I found YouTube's algorithm is actually like pretty good at turning me on to new shit that I wouldn't have found otherwise. Which is it's a funny byproduct. I'm sure it wasn't intentional.
Yeah, absolutely. I just discovered an album recently, and I'm blanking on what the fuck it was even called, but I shared it with some friends, and they were like, "Where the fuck did you find this?" And I was like, "Dude, just fucking YouTube recommended." It's like, please YouTube, send me more of that instead of just like whatever bullshit they're like. My recs aren't that bad, but it's just like, toss me a fucking curveball once in a while. I want to hear some weird shit. Like, and I don't know. If
you want a curveball, just log into the Super Despair account and you'll get a bunch of wacky stuff.
Yeah, see that one is so funny because it's like neither of us, like I have watched like snippets of videos before, just because we both share the front page with each other when we log in.
Yeah, we have our own like personal YouTube account, so we made a new one for the show.
Right. So like whenever I log in to upload the episode, or whenever Briar logs in to look at analytics or whatever, we'll like send each other screenshots of like, yeah, algorithm's doing big things. But I think that one's funny because like they don't because we don't watch videos on there, so they don't know who we are. So they just keep like throwing shit at the wall to see what sticks. Because for a while it was like how to grow your channel overnight.
I still get those regularly.
Tips, but then like after a while they're all bullshit, by the way. If you're an aspiring YouTuber or something, don't watch any of that shit. It's just a bunch of deranged people who are like,
none of those people know what they're talking about.
None. The only reason if they have more than like 100 views is because like it's a bunch of people who are like their content is telling people how to make content, but their content is telling people how to make content. So how can they tell you to make content? You get what I'm saying.
I just logged into the Super Despair World YouTube account, and I got this video. It's like a webcam video from this like cute girl or femboy or something, and the title is just, "Is it all really worth it?" And I'm like, yeah, that's what I'm feeling often.
Yeah. Is it?
Good question. Maybe we'll find out by the end of this episode.
But yeah, that is a cool thing about the internet, and I have no hate on vaporwave or lo-fi, which we'll talk about in a minute, but it's just kind of like
I was gonna say all of this kind of reminds me of like maybe this is old hat by now, but it's like there's a lot to be said about how the internet has kind of like democratized art in a sort of way. Like there's a pretty low barrier to entry for a lot of stuff, and just the nature of like sharing things on the internet. You see it give rise to a lot of like I think vaporwave was referred to as like a micro genre, right? Something very like niche, like kind of defined by the circumstances it came out of. And we're not talking about this particular genre I'm about to bring up like this episode, but just an example of this, something I learned about a while ago was you ever hear about the genre called maidcore?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, this is again warning, more weeb bullshit, because a lot of the album covers or whatever is just like an anime girl dressed as a maid or something. But the history is a bit more interesting, where it's like this is a genre. It's like rock music with like some electronic elements. And sometimes like a 8 or 16-bit like samples and like a kind of like a little video gamey sounding. It's music like that, and a lot of it was born out of this like Russian social media site called like VK or something. And it's just called maidcore because like everybody making music in the genre just calls themselves like Name the Maid. And like there's a whole bunch of that. You can go on a YouTube rabbit hole, and it's like, oh, this is, I don't know, I feel like part of this is like the anonymous nature of just like sharing things on the internet, and how that gives rise to like a lot of stuff that like you just wouldn't really see otherwise. Because we're going to talk about the music industry in the future, but in the past a lot of things were kind of like gate kept between like what will or won't get put on the local radio station, you know what I mean?
Exactly. And I mean like that's how things have always been, is like the gatekeepers of what music you generally hear have been like giant companies, giant music publishers, giant recording studios, all of this type of shit. They gatekeep that because especially in the past, like you can't put music out there unless they agree to record your music. Like you can sit in your garage and play some bands, or you sit in your garage and play some instruments.
I love music bands. Yeah, and when we talk about we're talking about like 50, 60-year-old like businessmen who will just be like, I don't think the kids will listen to that.
Exactly. And that's a fucked up thing, is like it's these people are just like, meh, pass, the kids don't like this these days. And like if it was if they truly ruled everything and nobody else was, we'd still be listening to like some like big band shit from like 1954. Like they would have been like, we're not ready for that sound. Let's just do Frankie Valli. Everybody likes him. Those sell records. I don't want to hear this fucking rock and roll guitar bullshit. Nobody wants to hear that. We can't sell it. Can't sell it.
No,
in the
no
Midwest.
disrespect to big band music, by the way. A lot of that shit is still pretty great.
Absolutely. But it's just like these people, like they have no fucking vision. They have no artistic like qualities to them. They have no ear. They're not musicians.
It's all about the Benjamins. It's all about making that money.
Exactly.
Just line go up.
Exactly. And the only reason that like genres like hip hop or punk or ska or reggae or whatever came into the forefront is there were like a shit ton of people sharing demo tapes with each other and going to all these shows, and some like executive with a suit showed up who's like the son of like some like record publisher showed up and was like, hey, man, they might have something going here. Actually, I like this after all. And it's like, they don't give a fuck about the sound. They don't give a shit about the music. It's just like they just see dollars. They see an untapped market, and they want to be the first to fuck with this. But I mean,
there's actually a relevant little quote here. I don't have the exact quote in front of me, but since we're talking about music, this was something said by famous internet melon Anthony Fantano. He was talking about vaporwave at some point, and he said something along the lines of, you can find basically anything on the internet, and if you find something on the internet, it's probably because some amount of people want it. And I think that's an apt description. Like, yeah, we're gonna get into like what's the appeal of vaporwave in the first place, but like I think it's clear a lot of people are into this stuff because like we're talking about it. You probably have seen it. People know about it. It's become like weirdly mainstream for something that started off as like so niche.
Yeah. Fantano wasn't a fan of the whole vaporwave thing, as far as I remember.
That sounds about right.
I'm not a huge Fantano hater, but he is kind of mired in the zeitgeist of whatever is going on in the music world.
I have a little soft spot for Fantano because I first discovered his channel back in like 2010, 2011 when I was still in high school, and he was like a 1,000 subscriber Andy. So I'm like one of the OG Fantano heads.
Yeah.
And there are like there's still a couple albums he reviewed in like the first year or two of his career that I still listen to those artists to this day, and I'm like, yeah, you're all right, Melon. So.
Yeah, I just kind of discredit like music reviewers in general because like I don't give a fuck, but I do respect him in the sense that back when Channel 5 with Andrew Callahan was still like a morally acceptable channel to watch before the allegations. Yeah, before the allegations. They had an interview and he just rolls up on a riding lawnmower. No,
that was like the funniest.
That was
shit
fucking
ever.
funny. That was fucking funny. Like, yeah. Fantano seems like a cool dude. Like, relative
to like how big he is on the internet,
for
I feel
sure,
like most people with a channel that big or like that big of a following, they kind of
douchebags. Yeah,
they start to lose it a little bit. They sort of lose that vital spark. But
yeah,
I still see the human light behind his eyes.
Yeah, my beef with Fantano it has nothing to do with him. It's just it's my beef with like music reviewers and like Rolling Stone, Pitchfork, and all this type of shit is like people will see them as like authorities on what music is good and what music isn't, and it's not really it's not Fantano's fault. Rolling Stone and Pitchfork, those are like fucking companies that fuck you. Kill yourselves.
You hate
Roblox.
The game, not the player.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah. But I mean, so the whole thing with vaporwave is, I mean, like, why did this catch on? Like, at the end of the day, it is just like you're taking like a Diana Ross song, or you're taking just whatever, you're pitching it down, and then maybe you put the fucking Windows the Windows 98 like startup sound in there or something
you
like
get
that.
You get some old school clip art with like the plastic cup neon colors
and that's the thing too, is I think the visual art for this, because all of this stuff started on YouTube, the visual art is just as important as the audio. These were not being
I think it's good. Like when we try to like break down like what is the appeal, why is this popular, I think this is a good like segue into like, it's not just like a genre of music, it's like a broader like aesthetic thing on the internet. And you could make arguments about like how much the visuals impact like the popularity of the music or whatever. I just brought up like the example of like the maidcore genre. Like nothing about the music has anything to do with like domestic housework being done by like a paid servant or something. It's just fucking thumbnails of anime girls or whatever. But I'm sure that has some element of the appeal. And like when you look at like the vibes of vaporwave, I think a lot of it, like undeniably there's an element of like nostalgia in there for like the 80s, the 90s, both from people who like grew up in that time and maybe like remember shopping malls. I remember shopping malls. I actually went to some when I was in high school, if you can believe that. And also like people who never experienced that at all. One of the good examples of this, however you feel about this show, Stranger Things on Netflix, that's like it's basically like a love letter to the 80s in a lot of ways.
Yes.
But it was made by like Zoomer millennial guys. They never lived through the 80s. All of that stuff is just like referential to them. So
right, and this is a callback to one of our way older episodes where we talk about just like nostalgia in general. Is I referenced the Brazilian idea of saudade, which is it's like a longing for a time that once was or maybe never existed at all. And in this sense, it's like, I wasn't fucking like, I was born in the late 80s, but I was a fucking baby. Like, I don't remember any of this, but like, you watch Stranger Things or something, and like people are obsessed with the 80s now. They're obsessed with the 80s. They're obsessed with the 90s. And like, I do remember the 90s, like to a certain extent, but it's like people can feel nostalgia for a time that they never knew. And media has a like a big part to do with that, but it's also like, it's kind of like, it's
have you ever watched Limmy's show? He's like a Scottish like comedy skit guy. Limmy's show.
I don't think so.
He's the but steel is heavier than feathers guy. That guy?
No,
never mind. Well, there's a skit on Lemmy's show where he's looking for directions to this place. He's somewhere in Scotland, and he goes to this like lady behind a desk, and he shows her a photo, and he's like, "Hey, do you know how I can get back to this place?" And it's just like a street somewhere in somewhere in Scotland. I'm showing my ignorance here, and she like gives him straightforward directions, and he's like, "No, I know how to get there. How do I get here?" And then she asks him to explain. He's like, "No, like there. I went there when I was in school with my buds, and it was just summer, and we didn't have anything to do, and we just hung around, and we make some mistakes. We go out and blah blah." And he just goes off for like several minutes.
That is actually a really fucking great concept.
And if you guys haven't caught on the bit, it's like he's not asking how to get to that street. He's asking how to go back in time to being younger.
Yeah. No, that's funny. I like that. You
gotta watch it.
Lemmy
is funny as fuck.
Yeah. For sure. But I mean that's a whole thing, and I think this is like, I mean, nostalgia is to get back to that. It's a powerful. It's a powerful driving force. Like it's a powerful emotional thing. It can really just kind of like just touch a little point in you where it's just like, oh man, that feels a certain type of way, like shit.
While we were doing some research for this episode, I saw people talk about nostalgia is like part of why vaporwave is popular. And for some people, they were like, yeah, when I first discovered vaporwave, I was nostalgic for like the 80s and 90s, but now I listen to vaporwave and I get nostalgic for like 2010s YouTubers that used it in their thing. I'm like, oh god, I feel so fucking out of touch. Yeah, I feel disgusted.
And that's weird. And so this is one of the general takes on vaporwave. It's like it kind of plays into this like because a lot of it is kind of like especially with the Kmart tapes thing, is like a lot of this in the aesthetics of like, you know, like Macintosh branding and like whatever, you know, like 90s 3D art bullshit is it kind of plays into this like aestheticization of like branding and like kind of like capitalism, and I think it kind of plays into too this like back before we all got like completely burnt out on like advertising and like in like companies and branding and all this type of shit, where it was just like, oh yeah, Nike shoes, oh yeah, this toy, this this brand, whatever, oh, advertisements on Nickelodeon, like whatever. And before now, and now like advertising is just like so like, oh, it's just so dead. It's just so like lifeless. It's just so like cynical. It's just like, ugh.
Not only that, but it's also like advertising and like the internet in general. But let's talk about advertising first. It's like it's ever present, right? Like when I was younger, like advertising, it was like, oh, it's the thing you see sometimes when you watch TV,
yeah,
or maybe you're on the internet and you get like a pop-up ad and then you close it or whatever. But now it's like it's so much more subtle. There's been so much research put into the psychology of it. It just kind of feels like 24/7, like literally every second of the day, it feels like somebody is trying to like exploit your brain into making you want things that you otherwise wouldn't.
It's just like, get out of my head, get out of my head, get out of my head. And I mean, and that's the entire internet economy right now. Is it's just like selling your data, and people are like, oh, your data and your privacy and shit like that. And it's like, no, they're not selling it to like people who are gonna steal your identity or anything like that, or it's not, they're not selling it to the government who's gonna like put you on a watch list because you said you want to kill Jeff Bezos or anything like that. They're selling it to advertisers so they can sell you dumb shit that you don't want or don't need, with the worst advertisements ever. The most like annoying, obnoxious, just like plainly whack shit, where it's just like, really, you work for fucking like one of the biggest companies on the planet with like a $10 million advertising budget, and this is what you came up with? What the fuck is wrong with you people? But like, maybe I'm not that.
We talk about like this idea of like the attention economy, and I first started hearing about this term like back when Facebook started like really taking off. It's not even necessarily just about like having you buy a specific product you saw an ad for. It's about like monopolizing like your attention span throughout the entire day. I know a lot of people have talked about the Mac, Apple, whatever headset. It's like the VR headset.
Oh yeah, the Apple Vision
thing.
Pro.
The Apple Vision Pro, thank you. Yeah. That's what it was. And like obviously it's kind of a joke right now because it costs like $3,000. Yeah. Nobody except like fucking like yuppies in California or whatever is gonna afford this thing. Yeah. But I remember seeing a YouTuber talk about it. They were like, I bought the Apple Vision Pro and I tried it for 30 days. And they talked about how like, oh, this thing like will monopolize your attention because like you go throughout the day and it's like, I don't have to pay attention to the world anymore because I can just have like fucking Family Guy funny moments playing on the corner of my vision like throughout the entire day. And it's like, okay, it's a joke now because this shit costs $3,000, but it kind of makes me worry about the future a little bit. And insofar as like to bring this back to like nostalgia about vaporwave and whatever, when we think back to the past, it's often with like rose-colored glasses because like you remember the good times, not as much.
Yeah. Yeah.
like more than the bad.
Yeah.
But the thing is, in a lot of ways, like, yeah, the past kind of was simpler in a lot of ways. Advertising was less ever present. The internet was not like a fucking psionic field over the entire world. It was like a physical location in my house.
Right.
I had to log into a fucking machine terminal to access it, which is not the case anymore. So like I look at the nostalgia for this time period, like the 80s, 90s, where we kind of start to see like the advent of all these like digital conveniences. Like you have like basic video games, you have like the internet, you can write emails and stuff. We recognize advertising on TV or something, but well, I don't know how much I don't know how Zoomers feel when they see like old school TV advertisements, but nevertheless, I think this time period is popular because it's so kind of familiar to a lot of us right now, but it's also like, oh, shit was slower back then. Shit was simpler. Everything felt less cynical, you know?
Well, I think Zoomers look at, I mean, this is Zoomers weigh in on this in the comments section. Please tell me how
tell
you
us how we're wrong and out of touch.
Yeah, but no, like I feel like Zoomers look at like advertisements from when I was a little kid, as I look at advertisements from like the 50s and 60s, where it was like hand-drawn illustrated art, where it's just like, buy the new Telco microwave system, it'll cook your food fast.
Marlboro brand cigarettes are great for kids. Get them for the whole family.
9 out of 10 doctors said Lucky Strikes will give me energy on the track field.
This was a little before my time, but I still feel some kind of way knowing that like Joe Camel was like a beloved brand mascot for a while, selling.
Yeah, well, wasn't there that thing where like I think this was in like the 90s, and like they would show like, you know, like just a bunch, like Mickey Mouse and like a bunch of other people. And so some kids would be like, yeah, it's Mickey Mouse. Like, here, who's this cartoon character? And they'd be like, I don't know. And who is this person? I don't know. And then like every single one of them was like, that's Joe Camel. It's like, oh
that's a darkness from another time. The only when I think to cartoon characters smoking, the first thing that comes to my mind is, you ever see that clip? It's like the Tom and Jerry show.
Yeah, we talked about this before, but it's so good.
Oh, okay.
It's so good. No, we got to talk about it again.
Yeah, okay. It was like a Wild West scenario. Tom is like a cowboy, and he's trying to impress this like cat girl, whatever, and he's just like flipping the revolver around. He does all these tricks. He rolls up like a cigarette and like shoots it to like light a smoke, and then he
rips it in one puff.
Yeah, and then he blows the smoke and says like, howdy. It's like,
man,
shit.
Smoking cigarettes is cool as hell.
Yeah, I fucking love Tom and Jerry. I grew up on that shit. I gotta watch it again sometime.
Yeah, it's pretty good. It's pretty good. That was in the era where there was like incredibly racist shit still in Warner. It was Warner Brothers, Warner Brothers cartoons.
Yeah, that was back before everything was woke.
Yeah, back when you could still just be incredibly racist in a children's cartoon.
Can't advertise this product to kids anymore because of
damn it. Fucking thanks, Obama.
Yeah. Where were we going with this?
Well, we should change gears and talk about lo-fi hip hop real quick, because this is true. These are all they're interconnected in a certain way. So like lo-fi hip hop, we all know this. Lo-fi beats to study to, lo-fi girl, anime girl studying on a desk, and it's just like it's vibes, right? Like
a lot of it is vibes. I don't proclaim myself to be like a lo-fi expert or something, but you know, I've actually liked some of it enough to like download it myself. Are you familiar with the lo-fi artists? They're called In Love with a Ghost. They have some really cute like album cover art.
No.
I'm just gonna send it to you really quick. You guys can look it up. In Love with a Ghost. It's like a pastel colored, almost like kind of sort of anime sort of vibe to it. I don't know. I think it looks really cute.
Wait, let me. I'm looking at this. Hold on. Wait. Discord just
I sent
flipped
it on
out.
Discord.
Yeah. Oh, wait. No, this is great. This is
yeah,
great.
it's really cute. I will admit, like sometimes when I'm browsing for music on YouTube, I'm not gonna pretend like, oh, the thumbnail art is not an element to why I click on it. Like that's a part of our own show. I do the episode covers because I'm like, yeah, it's something to get eyes on this otherwise like completely audio based medium, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. So lo-fi hip hop. When you think about the old lo-fi hip hop, what comes to mind? What are the vibes besides the really cool art that you just shared with me?
Well, it's kind of in the name, right? When you look at these videos, it's like lo-fi beats to study or chill out to or get some work done. It has like it's what I talked about earlier about like music that's meant to be like consumed kind of passively. You don't really like dig into it too deeply. You're not like super analyzing this stuff. In a lot of ways, it kind of feels like the modern internet equivalent of like the stuff that they would put on at the Kmart to listen to while you're shopping. You know, it's a very like again, I don't really like the term inoffensive because it does sound like a little condescending, like, oh, this is just like basic bitch bullshit, but whatever. It's like, it's very like it's easy to integrate into whatever you're doing in the moment, and I think that's part of the broad appeal, right?
Yeah, for sure. So like, there's a certain aesthetic to lo-fi hip hop in general, right? And it's kind of like it's kind of just like chill. There's like beats. There's maybe a little bit of melody. It's kind of repetitive. I mean, like, so we all know what hip hop is. Lo-fi, what does that come from? It's the idea of like it's a low fidelity recording. It's kind of like listening to something on a cassette or a vinyl or like a reel to reel thing. Not like
like my shitty dollar store broken earbuds that I use to record this show.
Yeah, that's yeah. So Super Despair World is yeah.
You guys don't know this, but Dave gives me shit. He's like, you gotta get some new earbuds. Like every time we're not recording, he's telling me I'm begging you to get some $20
guys. If you're thinking about donating Sinister Six and you're on the fence, like, please, Briar needs.
Keep your money. I will spend it on drinks.
No, I'm gonna bully Briar. If we get one new subscriber, this on God, on fam, on community. No cap.
Gonna do the big YouTuber thing of like, if this video gets 2 likes, we're gonna buy some new headphones.
We get between this episode and the next, if we get one new Sinister Six listener, I will bully Briar into getting like. I'm not saying, like, I've been saying you don't need to get like $200 like audiophile headphones or anything. Like, just get not like gas station broken ass earbuds.
If one of you gives me a sinister $6, I'm gonna go right back to the same dollar store and I'm gonna get another $6 pair of earbuds like these ones, which lasted me like 2 years before they fell into their current condition.
No, this is where this is the lore. This is gonna be on a Sunny V2 video, like the rise and fall of Super Despair World is when I said I'm not recording with you anymore because you got gas station.
I want Sonny to keep my name out of his like dirty fucking mouth for the rest of my life if I can help it.
Yeah, that would be awesome. Fuck that dude. Fucking slop shit.
We got to talk about shitty. No, we don't. Never mind. Let's get back to it.
All right. Anyways, lo-fi hip hop. Fucking there's some pretentious people out there who think it's like. It's kind of just like background music. It's basically like elevator music for like millennials and Zoomers and shit like that. There are fucking awesome lo-fi hip hop people, like artists out there. Big shout out to Blue Wednesday. Listen to their album The Great Escape. It fucking rocks. You could probably Probably the lo-fi girl chill beats to Jelk to plays a few of these tracks. I don't know how I found this. It might have been through that, but like no, like it's musically it's musically sound shit. It's just like it's kind of like it's kind of like it's just chill. It's just lo-fi. It's you could study to it. You could jelk to it. You could do a lot of things.
We've talked about some of the YouTube titles like lo-fi beats to study or get some work done to. But I've seen there's like another format of title where it's like an aesthetic title. They'll have like Unicode text to put like a space between every letter and make it italicized. And the video is just called like I miss her so much, and it's like a sad anime boy standing in a field of grass, or
it's like Simpsons clips with like a VHS filter over it or some shit like that. And I have it open right now. I was just scrolling by. I see sleep lo-fi music to make you feel safe and peaceful. ZZZ emoji. Lo-fi music to sleep /calm/heal. And the thumbnail is Homer Simpson chilling on the hood of a car. And this video is like almost 12 hours long. Yeah.
Let me just show that to you.
I'm sure I've seen it before, but like, so with lo-fi, like I don't want to talk about the music that much because I think it's good. Like we're not going to analyze the musical quality of this. I like it. If you don't, go fuck yourself.
Not only do we like it, I think you're a good person if you listen to it.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's all the validation that you need. But so but the part with Yeah, Homer chilling on the car. Yeah.
There we go.
But the part that I want to bring up with that is so lo-fi generally has that one has Homer Simpson on it, and that goes with vaporwave shit too, is Simpsons, but then like this also links to the next thing that I'm gonna say is like, well, like the mascot of lo-fi hip hop and study beats to jelk to is the lo-fi girl, the study girl, the looping anime girl, and there's a lot of anime aesthetics with all of this shit. And like so where does that, like, what does anime have to do with lo-fi? Well, Briar, have you ever seen an anime show called Samurai Champloo?
I know that's a really big one. I've seen clips of it. I have not
You're
sat
familiar
down to watch
with it.
But that's
yeah.
I think it's directed by what is his name, Watanabe or something. The guy who made it.
Yeah.
He has a stellar.
Yeah. I forget his name too. That does sound right though. So who was responsible for the soundtrack to that really cool, and I have watched I don't know if it was all of it, but like a significant amount. It was the seminal, I would say the granddaddy of the lo-fi movement, Nujabes, which he is unfortunately passed on at this point. Rest in peace. Phenomenal musician and artist, and so like he kind of melded this kind of like Japanese like aesthetic of samurai and shit with hip hop, and it's really cool. It's really cool. And there's like something to be said about like the first context people hear something for the first time, they can make those sort of connections. Right. Like there's like a common joke. It's like somebody listening to jazz music for the first time and they're like, "Oh my god, it's just like the Persona soundtrack." Right. Yeah, and but I really think the I mean you could trace lo-fi back before that, and then there's like there's Mad Lib and there's Jay Dilla and all this type of shit where you could say like lo-fi hip hop and stuff like that. I'm not glossing over these dudes, but like that's not we're not discussing music history here. It's kind of just like vibes based currently, but like
this is a chill podcast to study or relax to.
Yeah, exactly. And in respect to all the people who came before that, but I really do think that Nujabes is the crux of like what most people know as like lo-fi hip hop beats to study to. If you go on the on the Lo-Fi Girl like 24-hour radio right now, that's really where a lot of that came from. And Nujabes fucking rules.
God damn it, he was only 36 when he passed. That sucks.
I know,
man.
yeah. I don't even remember what happened with that, but like
gone way too soon.
Yeah. Really shitty. And
okay, I'm on Wikipedia. It says it was a traffic collision. Man, that sucks.
In Japan?
Fuck cars, dude.
Dude, that's what I'm saying. Fuck cars. Yeah. That's what train pilled me. Cause that's it. Otherwise, I'd be fine with cars. But, but that's the thing. And then like, so also, on top of that, so there's Samurai Champloo and like, did you have like Toonami in Canada?
We might have. I know. So like when I was a little kid, it was kind of like the early days of when like anime was first like making its way overseas here. We had like some shows like when I was like a little kid. We had like Digimon and Pokemon and like Dragon Ball Z on like the regular cartoon channels. But it first got kind of big around the time I was in middle school when we had G4 Tech TV. And we started getting like real anime, which was like not just like kids shows or whatever. People are gonna tear me apart for saying Dragon Ball Z is just a kids show or whatever. But it was popular. It was popular with my other like second grade friends.
Sure. So like did you have Cartoon Network or was that banned? Was that banned because it wasn't Canadian enough?
I don't know if we had it on TV, but I was definitely online enough to be familiar with the Cartoon Network shows.
Okay, so there was like a late night Cartoon Network kind of like segment. I don't even really know what you call it. Like from a certain time to a certain time. Late night. It was shit. I don't even remember what it's called. But there was like this 3D animated dude named Tom, I think, and he had a little helper, and he's kind of like the DJ of like showing people anime, and it was like, and there were shows like Tenchi Muyo and like DBZ and shit like that, but they would have these like kind of like Samurai Champloo soundtrack style kind of like hip hoppy like kind of.
Oh, I remember this TOM, the Toonami robot.
Yeah. So So I think that's a thing, and like all right. So now we can kind of bring that back to the common thread between lo-fi and vaporwave is like it really kind of comes back to nostalgia and to it taps into a certain aesthetic, a certain type of nostalgia from a certain time. Just like, you know, like it just taps into all these connections, and I don't think it's like conscious between within a lot of people, and it certainly wasn't for me for a long time. I'm not just like, well, it's reminding me of my youth, and some people are like that, like nostalgia brained, where they're just like obsessed with like this smell reminds me of when things before my wife divorced me. I'm certainly
I remember
not like
back
that.
when my life was like a video game.
Yeah, exactly.
Working hard and getting coins. But however the fucking song goes.
But like, yeah, but but like that's a whole thing. It's like they're kind of I mean, it tickles a little something within you. It's just
I think
it makes me feel a certain type of way.
We've talked enough in this about in the past on this show about like the dangers of nostalgia too much. It can be a form of brain rot in a lot of ways, but like everybody experiences it on some level. You know, it's not a wholly unpleasant thing. I think it's fine to indulge a little bit from time to time as a treat, you know.
Well, yeah, and that's what I'm saying. I think in this instance it's fine. It's fine. Like if this kind of vibe makes you feel a certain way, it's harmless at worst, and it's like just getting in touch with your roots at best. Like I think it's cool. I don't think that anything about this is problematic.
Yeah, I mean, this was in my show notes. We don't need to get like too deep into it. I know in the case of like vaporwave, there's like a million different little like subgenres within an already micro genre itself, vaporwave. There was like, I saw one, it was called like fash wave, which is just like vaporwave over like dumb shitty like fascist imagery. And then there's like labor wave, which is like the same thing, but like
I've seen this
shit.
before.
It's
It's
like
off.
Oh yeah, it's so like it's derivative. It's boring.
It's
like
fucking idiots trying to co-opt something to like push their like deranged agenda. Luckily, none of this ever really caught on with like the mainstream. It's just like 45
I'm just
people.
Bringing this up.
Yeah.
I'm just bringing this up. One is a good example of how Hearts of Iron 4 players don't deserve rights. And two, just like, yeah, some people will take the nostalgia thing too far. They'll get too deep into like fantasizing about a past point in time that did not actually exist the way they supposedly remember it. But we don't need to get like too deep into that.
Yeah. And I think there is, especially the vaporwave, there's a big aspect, as we kind of touched on, where a lot of this comes from like consumerism and capitalism and stuff like that. But like I also think like in with these movements, they kind of co-opt that aesthetic of just like mindless consumerism in again with the city pop thing of just like disposable industry music, which was meant to be forgotten, and then it brings it back and it kind of just like revives it in like a very wholesome, very organic, and very like intentional way, which is how all of these things should have been enjoyed in the first place, because like it is at the end of the day art. And like if the intentions of the creation of this art were like sinister in some way, it was meant to sell a product or just to like make a record label a bunch of money, that fucking sucks. But like it's not the fault of the people who made it or the people who are behind it. They're probably just like creatives who were just trying to pay the bills and shit. And now like I would hope that these people would look back at this stuff now that like people are like, actually, damn dude, the Kmart fucking like number 3 like background track actually fucked. And they could say like, hey, shit, maybe I did contribute something to the world other than just like working for like whatever music distributor company, Shutterstock ass bullshit.
Yeah,
like, you know what I mean?
It's kind of interesting how art can like kind of make you feel differently about something in retrospect. Like I feel like a big part of like vaporwave to me is like there's kind of also this like bittersweet sort of quality to like reminiscing on the past like that.
Yeah.
Like for example, a big thing people associate with like the aesthetic or vibe of vaporwave is like shopping malls or whatever. Like the music you would hear when you go out shopping or something, just like the kind of like that sort of whole vibe. And like I remember when I was a kid, when I was a pretty young person, the way we thought of shopping malls in a lot of ways, it was like everybody back then was like, it was like a very like counterculture thing. Like, yeah, fuck the corporations. I'm going to be an anti-conformist. I'm not just a sheeple buying the stupid products or whatever. And it's like, yeah, we kind of looked at the mall as like kind of cynically, right? It's like, oh, this is just some corporate bullshit. I look back on like a lot of the music that was popular, you know, when I was younger, you know, legendary album, everybody's probably like familiar with it, fucking Demon Days by Gorillaz. And it's all about like, this was like a anti-Bush administration thing, like, yeah, fuck the war, fuck the corporations, all that stuff. And you know, that was kind of the vibe back then. So like at the time I thought malls like, oh, okay, it's just like a fucking place to go spend your stupid money you get from working in the wage cage or whatever. But now it's like, oh, we live in a different time now where like buying shit online, like fucking Amazon has basically killed brick and mortar stores. Like everywhere you go, it's fucking sad to walk into a mall now because it's like 70 to 80% minimum, like closed out like shop units or whatever. And then you'll see like, okay, here's the Dollar Tree, here's the Starbucks, here's like one or two other things. Maybe there's a shoe store or whatever. Yeah. And that's about it. Unless you live in like a really big city, like when I was in college,
or a really rich area. But
Vancouver,
but those like in the really rich areas or a really big city, it's the same function. It's more of a showroom for like companies that can afford to lose money in these things, but like that's not like, they're not like making a shit ton of money there.
Yeah, the point I was getting at is like, when we talk about Vaporwave now, it makes people feel very differently about malls than how I remember us feeling about malls, you know, back when you could go to one and there were actually like people and stores there. Because now you listen to this music and it's like, oh yeah, I kind of remember, I kind of miss going out to like one central location in real life where I had all these different things like right at my fingertips. You know, it's not just like fucking DoorDash everything, gig economy, buy some shit on Amazon anymore. Everybody just like stay at home and go to work and never leave the house for anything else. So like, yeah, we feel very differently about that. And you could have all these like ethical arguments about like, oh, Vaporwave is problematic because it makes you think fondly back to this time when it was still advertising and capitalism, just in a different way, and it was still bad or whatever. And like, even just trying to summarize that now, I think that whole conversation is like exhausting and like frankly kind of pointless. But yeah, it is a whole thing about like art and how it can make you feel differently about something, even something that you experienced firsthand all those years ago, and now it puts a new lens on it, and that's kind of like an interesting factor, how like through being remixed and repurposed and given a new context, we kind of refined all these things that we lost before, and maybe find like a new appreciation for them.
Yeah, this is a rare this is a rare episode where we dissect like a little corner of like you know, internet historical culture, and say like, actually it's fucking based, like it's good. Overall,
Vaporwave, if you guys are worried, this media is very ethical to consume, and you will go to heaven if you enjoy it.
It's dope. Yes, it is dope. I think Vaporwave is cool. I think lo-fi hip hop is great. It's an aesthetic, but it's a good aesthetic. It draws on like a lot of really cool shit in the past. It revives forgotten media and gives it new life. And like I don't really have anything else to say about that. I think it's great. And like I think this is a good foil to our previous episode where I mean, I think we kind of said, like, we talked about the dangers of nostalgia and the way that it can make people like completely fucking deranged. And I think nostalgia can also be used for good. And in this case, yeah, fucking rock on. I don't know if people are still doing Vaporwave. I know there's a whole meme, Vaporwave is dead. I would like to hear more. I know people are still definitely doing lo-fi hip hop. Keep on keeping on. Keep keep the memories of Nujabes and all the other fallen homies who helped push this this art form into the mainstream. Keep that shit alive and help fucking college kids study and people with ADHD get their fucking work done and all of this type of shit. Like I'm a huge advocate. Fuck yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And I guess that's kind of like a nice segue. Before we wrap up, there's like one more thing I kind of wanted to touch on, and it's just we talked so much about like what's the appeal of vaporwave, why did it get so popular, and I thought I would maybe like end on this note about like talking a little bit about art and maybe dissecting like some of the reasons why I think it's kind of like I know people are still making lo-fi, but in the case of vaporwave, why it's kind of like fallen off a little bit, and I wanted to bring up. In the process of like researching for this episode, I heard some people say some sentiments along the lines of something like, well, there's a very low barrier to entry for like making vaporwave music or whatever. So it got very popular and there were too many people doing it, and it kind of fell out of favor because it was like, yeah, there's too much of it. It sounds very derivative. It feels like not a whole lot going on. A lot of it is like there's so much, and a lot of it is kind of low quality. And in the video I was watching in particular, this person said, and that kind of ruined the genre. And I wanted to like unpack that a little bit because I don't know if I like 100% agree with that. And I thought maybe we could end on this topic about like, you know, the whole thing about this form of art arising on the internet being like a very like democratic thing in the sense that like anybody can jump in and just start doing it. Do you think maybe to start us off, like, does art need to be good? Does too many people making something, like, does that ruin it for other people?
I think this is a fundamentally fucking boomer argument of just like I mean I'm not gonna name any names on this, but we were talking about this before. It's just like there is. I
think you should name the name and then just edit it out to keep our listeners guessing.
Yeah. All right. So the whole Beato thing.
Okay.
That's that's
that
the whole thing of just like, well, the reason music sucks is because it's too easy to make an album these days, and now you just press a button and the album comes out, and it's like, no, dude, you don't get it, man. It's like the quality, like music is not about like grind. It's not about grinding. It's not about like. It's not. This is not an RPG where like you can only do like really cool things if you have enough experience points. Like, no, these people, like, yes, is it hard to detune like a Diana Ross song and put it out there with like just like a photoshopped thing with like just some aesthetic things? Not as much as like being like. It like incredibly good at the piano or guitar or like music production. Or,
I have
whatever.
Audacity open right now.
Yeah.
I have not played a musical instrument since I played the sax in middle school. I could probably make a fucking vaporwave night course some bullshit with like a 20-minute tutorial or whatever.
But the thing is, you didn't, and you didn't.
True.
You didn't, and they did, and now. We're talking about this because somebody did, and nobody did that before them.
Oh, I hear this fucking bullshit sentiment so much when it comes to like abstract art, and they're just like, this is just a big canvas you painted blue, and I'm like, you guys don't get it. You don't fucking get it. There's so much texture to this. It's like, what's his name? The guy who just splattered paint all over the canvas. I could have done that, but you didn't.
But you didn't. And you also
the CIA money.
And you also don't understand that before that dude splattered blue on a canvas, people were painting photorealistic fucking shit for the previous 50 years, and then this dude is like, I'm an artist too. Boom. Put that in a fucking gallery, and then people are like, what the fuck? And we're talking about it. We're discussing it.
I think
it's like that in and of itself. It's not necessarily about like skill. It's about like you did something that people look at it and they say, huh, what the fuck is that? Let's talk about it. And if it's really bad, like nobody.
I had to look this up to double check because my several years of art history education have been failing me. But I don't want to get this mixed up. The paint splatter guy, that was Jackson Pollock. A lot of people, everybody recognizes his stuff. A lot of people don't like it. You don't have to like it. Just don't be like a fucking like pseudo intellectual like contrarian about it. And the other one I was talking about, it was actually a red canvas. That was it's called "Who's Afraid of Red, Yellow, and Blue" by Barnett Newman.
Oh,
and
yeah, I know
painting,
that one. Yeah, that
painting made some like neo-Nazi dipshit so mad that he like charged into the museum and like fucking slashed it with a knife or whatever. If you guys ever have some free time, check out the video essay that Jacob Geller did on that painting and just abstract art in general. It's so much more well articulated than what we're gonna say here, but again, a lot of people have just fucking like bullshit, like ignorant ass opinions about art, and it's like very frustrating to listen to.
Yeah, and then I'll bring it back to the music thing for the last thing that I'll say is, are you familiar with the John Cage 4 minutes 33 seconds thing?
Sounds kind of familiar.
So John Cage, the composer, he quote unquote composed something, and it's called 4 minutes and 33 seconds, and he would just like sit down at the piano and just not play anything for 4 minutes and 33 seconds, and it was kind of like an art piece where it's just like, well, the music is like do you hear a guy, this seat is creaking next to you and somebody's coughing over there and like whatever, and it's like it kind of like it's supposed to like tune you in to like the sounds of the
it's
whatever.
Not just about the literal sound, it's also about the experience. The
experience
by
in the
there
absence
in
of sound. It's kind of like an anti-music thing, like it's whatever, like I mean, like it's a cool little thing. I don't like. I'm not just like, whoa, how dare you? You must.
It's one of those things, like you can just like look up I guess a YouTube video of the guy sitting in front of a piano, and I don't think you'll really get it. I feel like this kind of highlights the importance of like
you have to be there.
Art scene.
You have to be there, and you also have to be there like when he first did it. Which I don't know when he did. It was probably in the fucking like 80s or 70s or some shit like that. But like, yeah, it's like it's a thing. Like you can't just keep doing it. But it's like he was the first one to do it. It's kind of like a troll. Like I respect it. Like it's cool. But it's like, yeah, we need people to just like do like weird shit and like, yeah, like is vaporwave dead? Maybe, probably, maybe not. But like it happened and it was cool, and like I'm excited to see the next like just weird kind of like aesthetic thing or like art thing that just kind of pops off and people run it into the ground real quick, but it's like it's just kind of a thing. Like I think it's cool. I'm glad that it happened. And I think something else like that will happen in the future. And fucking right on. If you're thinking about doing some weird shit, do it, please, and credit us for giving you inspiration.
Yeah, we'll take full credit and any monetary gain you might make out of your
products. We're gonna need 30% royalties on anything you make.
Yeah, exactly. So I want to just bring up. I have one last little take I want to put out there, and I'm gonna keep this a little brief because in the future I really want to do an episode talking about the quote unquote art community on sites like TikTok or Twitter or other places on the internet. Stuff I'm immersed in, visual art, whatever. I have this take about like, so the thing about vaporwave is we've talked about like the circumstances of its creation, how it's like it had a very low barrier to entry and all that. And I think the take I want to put out there is that I strongly feel like part of it's not just about the end product of art, like you brought up with the guy not playing the piano. It's about the experience. It's about like it's about more than just what you get, which is like, I guess, a completely like blank audio file, or maybe somebody like coughing distantly in the background or whatever. I feel like the thing about art is it's about the process that makes it, and not just what you have in the end. And I strongly feel like to create good or interesting art, I really feel like you need to do it like within a community. You need to be in touch with other people. You need, your art should have like some sort of like communication going on between you and other people, and not just like a thing that exists like solely in a vacuum to be judged with like zero context behind like the circumstances and people behind it and all that stuff. And like I brought up before about like, oh, people said Vaporwave fell off because there was too much of it and a lot of it was kind of shitty. And like you can feel strongly about like pieces of art. You can think some art is low quality or whatever. I think there's a lot of value to quote unquote bad art being made. In a lot of ways, I feel strongly like there's more artistic merit to like somebody who's like posting their like shitty original characters to deviant art, because like there's something sincere about that. It comes from the heart. This is someone sincerely trying their best, even if they don't really have any like technical skills whatsoever. In a lot of ways, I feel like that's more valid and interesting than like some AI generated bullshit which has like nothing behind it besides like a cynical desire to make money off of like a non-existent investment, you know? And that's just how I feel. Like wrapping it up about Vaporwave, there's so much to say about like, okay, we could unpack the specific artists. We could talk about like the musical trends, like, oh, talking about, oh, this is pitch shifted this way, oh, this is slowed down so and so. And like, yeah, we can talk shop about the technical stuff, but the thing that makes this whole conversation interesting to begin with is like the people behind it and the circumstances in the community on the internet, and how all this stuff arose like in conversation with each other, and how that's evolved over time. And I think that stuff like that is always going to exist on the internet, regardless of what's going on with like AI bullshit or like what's quote unquote commercially viable or all that stuff. So yeah, we have a lot to say about art, but I feel like, yeah, that's the case with Vaporwave. I think it's very interesting, even if like a lot of it doesn't necessarily appeal to me like specifically, but I think this was a good convo, I think.
Yeah. No, for sure. And it is heartening to see that like there is still like innovation and kind of like creativity on that level that still goes on. I know like the origins of that was like maybe like 10 years ago or so, but like it's the more of this is gonna happen. It's cool. I know like we get cynical a lot of times, like everybody's just trying to like go viral on the internet or follow trends and shit like that, but there's a ton of people that are just trying to do something new and something cool and express themselves. And as much as the internet has its faults and a lot of the slop rises to the top, a lot of times because of just like the algorithmic shit from all these platforms that we find ourselves fucking tethered to, there's at the end of the day, a lot of it is good people just trying to do cool shit, and we'll take it back someday. We're gonna be fine.
A lot of people despair about the current state of the internet being like, oh, it's all just like a fucking like strip mall now. It's all been ruined by venture capital and other bullshit like that. And we can talk endlessly about that. But I think the good analogy, and I guess maybe this is the right note to end on, is like, you ever see like, oh, we've paved this sidewalk, and no matter how many times we repave it, there's still like a blade of grass that's gonna grow through that. I think no matter how much they pave over the real genuine internet with all this like algorithmic social media AI generated bullshit, there's still going to be that real human element. We're always going to use the internet to communicate with other people and put new ideas out there. And I think I don't know, before anybody despairs or dooms too much about like, oh, there's no good art being made anymore, it's impossible to get discovered or whatever, I don't know, maybe try harder. Maybe seek out the stuff that you want to consume more. Maybe, I don't know, pay more attention to art, and maybe be a little more active and not just consume it as a background passive thing. Because like, hey, all this music was being put out for a very long time before we ever started talking about it. So
I don't know. Find some communities. They're out there. Like there are people doing cool shit, and there's a lot of nice people out there, and there's a lot of like helpful people. There's a lot of encouraging people. There's a lot of hopeful people. Like it's not just some cynical I'm trying to make it like bullshit. Like just find them. Put a little bit of effort towards it. Yeah.
If you guys need a starting point, consider checking out our Discord and maybe throwing us a few bucks on Patreon.
Yeah, if you're interested in music, hit me up. If you're interested in art, hit Briar up.
Post your art in our server. As long as it's not better than mine, then I'll be sad. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah,
You're welcome. All skill levels. It's all good.
That would be cool. We should wait. Do we have like a share your shit thing in there? We do. Right?
Pretty sure we do. Yeah, I have an art zone channel in there. There we go.
All right, cool. Yeah, go in the art zone. Go in the art zone. Share your fucking art. Stop being a little bitch. I'm gonna share my art in there. Soon.
Fuck yeah. Let's go. I think Let's wrap this episode up. I think we already shouted out.
We already shouted them out
at the start. Yeah. For once. So again, we love you guys. Thanks so much for supporting the show, and thanks for being patient with us this past month as our release schedule has kind of been in flux a little bit. But hey, we deliver every week.
Yeah,
roughly speaking.
Yeah, we deliver every week. What day it gets delivered on is it's a dice roll. But
this show operates on siesta time. All right.
Yeah,
it takes time to make that sausage.
Yeah, we're I'm gonna siesta. Okay. Anyways, I have no more words. Let's get the fuck out of here before I say something insane.
Yeah, let's unplug. All right. Have a good night, everybody. See ya next week.
Fucking A. Good fight. Good night.